Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Mohawk Motors. My name is Jason. It's been a little bit since I uploaded a video. My apologies. Things have been busy, but I think I'm getting ahead of the busyness stuff for now, and that means I can get back to getting some videos up for you guys. So I've got some updates to do and a project that we're working on today. So let's get into this and I'll show you what's been going on, and what we're working on today. So I think first thing I want to show you is my silver regular cab is finally back from body work. This thing wound up taking a lot longer and needing a lot more than we thought it was going to need, but I got it back. It's all through Maryland inspection, passed, safe, good to go, running and driving. And I'm excited to start doing some modifications and making some changes on this thing here soon. The ass blazer is still here. The Trans Am is still here, de-winterized, ready for some fun, some cruise-ins, some trips this summer. I still got the Duramax. Still have the blue regular cab. I have my white single cab 2500 HD. And my, way down there in the distance, my white crew cab 2500 HD. Getting ready to haul another one off to the scrapyard. I've got a red single cab. This is a long bed, but this one will be for sale shortly if you're in the market. And then over here, look at all this backyard. Our in-laws are visiting. This is their camper. And, yeah, the parts vehicle inventory has dramatically decreased. These are the last 5 part out vehicles I have and will be parting out. There's for long story short is I don't want to keep working away all the weekends. I want to spend weekends with my kids, and I've built enough of a reputation and enough customer base that I don't need to continue doing part outs anymore. Last but not least here is the black Trailblazer. I think I did 1 or 2 videos on this before when I got it and made a few visual changes to it. But this thing is also now all legal, registered, inspected, insured, ready to drive. I've actually been driving it a bit, and today I'm gonna make a modification for it. I actually bought this quite a while ago, but didn't want to install it until I got the thing through inspection. So today I've got my lowering kit here. We're gonna lower this thing. It in my opinion, it sits a bit too high. It looks like it's trying to be a truck, which I have trucks. I don't have any intention on using this thing as a truck. Like, it'll never be off pavement. So I want to get that stance corrected a bit. And I think about a 2-inch lowering, maybe 3 inches, will get this thing sitting at a much more appropriate and, to me, visually appealing ride height. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get this Belltech lowering kit installed. Now, it is the same kit that I used on the ass blazer a while ago. If you saw that video, same kit, very similar installation. The big difference is I am not going to be also installing the massive adjustable control arms in the rear this time. I'm going to just use the stock control arms. I'm going to see how the rear end is centered in the vehicle after it's lowered. If I need to, I do have an adjustable panhard bar for the rear, just to get the rear end back in the center of the vehicle. But yeah, I feel like I've been doing a ton of talking already. Let's get into some action and get something done. All right, so before I get too far ahead of myself here, let's get a measurement of where it sits now, stock height, and then we'll get a measurement afterwards of how much lower it is. So from the center of the wheel here at the rear, we're right at, I'm gonna call that 34 1/4. Center of the wheel here at the front, I'm gonna call that Oh, 33 9/16. So I think I'm going to start in the rear. That should be a less involved process to do, a little bit simpler and easier. And then after we get that down, then we'll go to the front.
A few moments later.
Okay, so moving along. Got the vehicle up on jack stands. My jack stands are under the frame in a place that they won't interfere with the suspension travel. Now, these Trailblazers, the GMT 360 platform, uses a 4-link rear suspension with a panhard bar, a track bar. People call them different things, but they do the same job. Coil spring on each side and a shock absorber on each side. Now on these, the shock absorber basically acts as your suspension limit strap. When the shock absorber is fully extended, that is what stops the axle from dropping any lower. So in order to get these out of here, because I'm replacing them, there's 18mm bolt at the top, 18mm bolt at the bottom. I'm going to remove both shock absorbers, this side and the other side, and that will allow me to lower the rear axle using my jack far enough that I should be able to get my coil springs out. And once I get the coil springs out, then it's just reverse of removal. Put the new coil springs in, lift up, put the new shock absorbers in, get the new shocks bolted into place. Easy squeezy, that's it. As far as it goes in the rear here. Now, it'll be important for me to check and make sure that my wheel speed sensor wires, my brake hoses, my parking brake cables, all that stuff is still clear, safe. It's not going to get pinched or rub against the wheel or anything like that. But the actual lowering kit itself is just remove and replace the old stuff, the springs and shocks, and then we will, once I get it on the ground, check and see if the axle is still centered under the vehicle. We'll tackle that when we get there. Okay, got the spring and shock out on both sides. You can see my axle is just supported by my jack. So now I'll put the new parts in, reverse of taking them out, and then put it back together. All right, so new shocks bolted in, both sides, new coils put in, both sides. Now, in order to make sure the rear is still centered, I'm gonna jack the truck up, get the wheels and tires put back on it, and then sit it down on its own weight. And then on its own weight, I should be able to take a measurement, and it's just a crude measurement from outside of the tire to outside of the body line here, and make sure that the rear is still centered under the truck. If it's not, then I'll get the adjustable panhard bar that I have, and we'll get that put in and get it adjusted. If it is, then we'll call this end good and move on to the front. Voila! It's squatted! Hooray! No. Gosh. No, we don't do that to vehicles. Don't do that to your vehicles. But I can tell just from looking at it, and I'm not sure if you guys will be able to tell here in the camera, but there's the driver's side wheel. And here's the passenger side. You know, pretty, I mean, I can see it with my naked eye that the rear is not centered. I think it's only about maybe 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch off center, but it's enough that I don't like it. So I'm gonna get my adjustable panhard bar that I have out, get it lifted back up, get some space under there where I can reach everything, and then get that installed. All right, so I got my adjustable panhard bar up there. That came from Massive Industries. Same people that I used for the Trailblazer. Now, to get this thing, to get this rear end centered in the truck, all I did was a simple string line, right? So take the string line, hang it from the body, right against the body line, get it to stop swinging, and then just measure from the sidewall of the tire to the string line. And you just do that on both sides. Adjust as needed until you have the rear end centered under the vehicle where you want it, and then use the lock nuts on the adjustable panhard bar to lock it in place. And that's it. So now the rear end in this thing is centered right where I want it. Looks good on this side. Looks good on this side. You know, note though, the weight of the vehicle needs to be on that rear axle when you're taking your measurements and adjustments, because as that suspension cycles, the panhard bar, if my elbow is the end fixed to the vehicle and my fingertips are the end fixed to the axle, it swings in an arc. So as that suspension travels up and down, that rear axle will move just slightly left to right. So you need to make your adjustment at ride height. Maybe that means it's a little tilted up, maybe that means it's a little tilted down, but you need to make your adjustment at ride height with weight on the suspension. So that's how it's going to be when the vehicle's sitting on the ground. So the rear end is done. Very happy with that. I'm not going to measure until we get the front end down also, just to make sure it's even, but that looks like just the right amount of lowering that I was looking for. It looks less like it's trying to be a truck and more like, you know, it's a little sporty, a little bit of performance hidden in there. All right, everybody. Well, I may or may not have gotten a little in the zone and I forgot to record everything. I'm sorry. But here's the aftermath. These are the original front struts. You do not reuse the actual shock portion or the coil spring portion with this kit. It comes with new shock, new coil spring, but you will need to reuse the top part of the strut, the part that holds the coil actually on. So you take it all apart like I have here, and then you put it back together with the new shock, the new coils, and in this kit it is adjustable. So they include a bunch of these spacers. You get, oh, do I remember correctly? You get 3 of these 5/8 tall spacers and 2 of these 3/8 tall spacers with each one. And then it comes with instructions on how to set it up based on what you're trying to do. Now, the problem is, you can see here, number of rings to put on the strut, etc., etc. But it only goes to a 2-inch lowering. Well, this is a 3-inch kit. It lowered the rear 3 inches, and I wanted to try to get about the same amount of lowering in the front. Well, that says no spacers. So I tried it with no spacers, and that was just way too low. So I had to take it back off, take the strut apart again, and I put one of the taller spacers on each side. And I think that's got it about where I want it. That looks like, you know, the amount of space between the tire and the top of the wheel well is pretty proportionate front to rear. So I'm happy with that. It's got the stance that I was going for. I'm still going to get a measurement, and actually let's just do that now. We're at 31 1/4, 30 1/2, but I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty self-explanatory kit. This truck wasn't too rusty, so everything came apart without fighting me. And yeah, now I'll have to take it and get it aligned. I've got it, it's pretty close on toe, but as far as camber, I don't have the tools to measure camber very well. It could do the level, but So I'm just gonna take it and get a front end alignment, and that way it won't wear my tires all funny. So yeah, that's it. Got it installed. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty good.
4 to 6 days later.
What's up, everybody? So I'm picking up where I left off on this Trailblazer. And I don't remember exactly where I left off, so I'm going to bring you up to speed. you know, make sure we're on the same page. So I did the lowering kit. I got it sitting level. But what I'm not happy about, or what I needed to do more research, is the front camber is way off. I mean, those front wheels are cambered way in. They're tilted. Can you see it? I think you can see it. And it's going to be more or less impossible to get it aligned correctly in that condition. So I found this stuff online, and these are upper control arms made by DJM Suspension. And how these are going to help me, how they're going to fix my problem, is they are longer from the pivot to where the upper ball joint mounts is longer than the factory control arm. From what I read, that gives it'll basically bring the suspension back into spec, or close enough that when you take it to an alignment shop, they'll be able to get the camber set correctly to where it should be. So these are pretty straightforward. Just remove and replace. Remove your factory control arms, install these in their place, and then the camber should be better. It still won't be right, but then I'll be able to take it to someone with an alignment machine and get it lined up right, so it'll drive nice, won't wear my tires funny, all of that stuff. So I'm gonna get the truck lifted up and then get going on this thing. All right, got them on there. Camber looks way, way, way better. Now, these do not do an alignment. It still needs to go and have a professional alignment done. But it's good enough now that they should be able to get it within spec. Because the suspension's sitting lower, I can see that it's towed out a bit also. So hopefully I can get an appointment this week, get it over, get the alignment all to where it should be, and then I want to drive this thing a bit. I really would like to do get it to like a test and tune day at the local drag strip. Still like 45 minutes away, but I want to take it up for a test and tune and see what it'll do as it sits, because I have some plans for this thing that I'm gonna want to know what the actual difference is. Probably same trip or another one, I want to get the blue regular cab to the drag strip also and get a baseline, I haven't done anything to it yet, number on that thing also, because I really have some fun ideas for that one. So yeah, I think that's it for this one, team. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed, and hope this helps you if you're trying to work on one of these things. Thanks again, and until the next video, take care.